Star Wars The Clone Wars is one of my favorite shows of all time. It is a fantastic show, with some highs and some lows, some great characters, some great action, everything you want in a Star Wars show. And so in today's video, I wanted to rank all 7 seasons of Star Wars The Clone Wars. A few disclaimers with these rank it videos is that 1, this is my personal opinion. So if you guys don't have the same opinion as me, that is totally fine. Just be respectful in the comments down below so we can have a discussion about it. And 2, if you want to pause the video right now and leave a comment down below with your rankings before we move on so that we can have a discussion in the comments after the video is over, then please, by all means, feel free to do so. I would love to hear your guys' lists. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and without further ado, let's get started. Coming in at number 7, we have Season 1. Now, I think Season 1 has some really good things in it, but I also think it's a very prototypical Season 1. What do I mean by this? Well, I think the characters and the story and the action, the animation, almost all the aspects of the show have a lot of room for growth. First of all, the animation is not great. And that's not Dave Filoni's fault. It was 2008, I understand that, but the animation, looking back and just objectively, is not great. It really isn't. Like, the characters feel wooden, the lightsaber fights just kind of feel awkward and janky. And secondly, the characters are not quite established yet. Going back to Parks and Rec, I mean, you can tell, right? Season 1, Ron Swanson wasn't that established. He didn't really have his ideals yet or his personal character traits. And the same thing can kind of be said about Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 1. Like, Ahsoka Tano didn't really have a defined character other than being whiny, I guess. And on top of that, well, the stories were just kind of lackluster, although some of them were really great. For example, I think Lair of Grievous is one of my favorite episodes of all time in the Clone Wars. I think it's just an absolutely great episode. I also think the Malevolence arc is fantastic. I think it's really great to see Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Plo Koon and the clones. And by the way, kudos to Season 1 because they do establish another thing, which is humanizing the clones. That's something that this show had to do, and they did it so successfully, because we really care about these clones now. And we also care about other side characters like Plo Koon. I mean, before I saw the show, I wouldn't have even known who Plo Koon was, barely. But now I just love the character. He's great. Again, though, that being said, there are some pretty weak episodes. Like the Blue Shadow Virus, not great. Not great at all, I don't think. And Jar Jar being a Jedi, I mean, that's Jar Jar being a Jedi. What else can I say about that? So yeah, Season 1 left a lot of room for growth, but overall, still a pretty good season of Clone Wars. Coming in at number 6, we have Season 2. Now, Season 2 did what a lot of good Season 2s do, which is just build on the foundations built in Season 1. And they really did. I mean, first of all, the animation is just so much better, and Ahsoka Tano is just such a better character here, I think. Like, they really established her character and was able to set a tone for her throughout the rest of the series. On top of that, I think the bounty hunters are pretty interesting as well. I think the opening arc with the holocrons is pretty cool. I think Cad Bane is a good character. And I think the arcs on Geonosia, pretty interesting as well. I think it's pretty cool to see Dave Filoni sort of expanding the Star Wars universe and exploring different parts of the galaxy during the Clone Wars. We also get to see the introduction of Duchess Satine, who again, if you haven't seen my last video, is a very, very important character to Obi-Wan Kenobi. And we get the Zilla Beast arc. So again, there are some really, really solid improvements to the show from Season 1. It's just not quite there yet, but it's getting there. And I think that's what's really cool about Season 2. Coming in at number 5, I think this is going to be the most controversial, is Season 7. Now, if you haven't seen my review for Season 7, I'm going to reiterate some of the points here, but basically, I think this season is wildly inconsistent. Like, really wildly inconsistent. We open with the Bad Batch arc, and I think it's a very, very solid way to open the season, though not my favorite arc, but still, very fun. And then we get one of the worst arcs in the entire Clone Wars series, which is the Trace and Rafa arc. I mean, again, to reiterate from my review, I think this arc is horrible. I literally think it's atrocious. It's terrible. And then we get the last 4 episodes of the entire show, which I think are some of the best in the entire Clone Wars series. So what do we have when we mix those all together? We have a very short season that's just inconsistent. I mean, first of all, this season is just too short. Am I the only one who thinks that? Because I think 12 episodes to close out this brilliant series is just not enough, honestly. I would have loved to see those unfinished episodes like on Utapau with Anakin and Obi-Wan, but we got these 12 episodes. And again, like I mentioned before in my review, I think this entire season just kind of feels like a missed opportunity. Because while yes, the last 4 episodes are just brilliant, the previous 8 are just kind of filler. And that makes me really sad that this show had to end on that note. But again, I mean, on the positive side, of course, Darth Maul is amazing as ever. Ahsoka versus Darth Maul is great. We get to see some great moments between Anakin and Obi-Wan. It's just, there's something missing here. Maybe that's just me, because I know a lot of people love Season 7 as a whole, but as a whole, I just can't put this any higher on the list. Coming in at number 4, we have Season 4. Now, Season 4, I think, is the most consistently good season of the Clone Wars, meaning that while other seasons may have higher highs and lower lows, this season is consistently humming at a really good pace. To make an MCU reference and a comparison, I would compare this season to The Winter Soldier. I think that this season hums at a very, very high consistent level. I personally think the first arc is the weakest, the one in the water planet. I think it's interesting to explore the Mon Calamari, sure. I just wasn't that invested. Then we get a couple really interesting arcs with Anakin and Padme and Grievous, and also Plo Koon that I honestly completely forgot about. But yeah, they were interesting, I guess. Side note, I think it's really funny how George Lucas kind of put Dave Filoni in a corner, because in Revenge of the Sith, they say General Grievous never met Anakin Skywalker, which, by the way, if you watch the entirety of the Clone Wars, it seems kind of ridiculous that they never met. But yeah, in this scene, you get basically the closest they're ever going to come to seeing each other, although Anakin was unconscious, which is kind of funny again. But anyways. And then you get the Umbara arc with General Pong Krell, which I think is great, because you get to really see the clones' individuality and just how they function as a unit. And also you get to see the corruption of a Jedi, which I think is also really cool. Good foreshadowing for Anakin Skywalker. We get the Zygerian slave traders arc, which again fleshes out Anakin Skywalker's personality and backstory. That's great as usual. The Massacre episode was really, really cool, I think, because it really gave some insight into Asajj Ventress and the Night Sisters. Again, really, really great. And then, of course, we end with Darth Maul and Savage Opress. So again, like I mentioned before, this season is one of the highest quality in terms of consistency. It just is kind of missing that little oomph factor, in my opinion. Like that little extra that would just take it over the top. Coming in at number 3, we have Season 6. Season 6 is kind of interesting because it kind of explores all the mystical, wacky elements of the Force, and I really like that, actually. First of all, the Fives arc is great. I love that we get to see the beginnings of Order 66 and just how it's unraveling. And the Clovis arc is... I'm kind of agnostic on it. I think it's fine. I think it does a lot to develop Anakin Skywalker and Padme's relationship, but just overall Clovis, banking? Like, really? But then, of course, we get to see the Yoda arc, and I think this is one of the best arcs in the entire Clone Wars series because it really gives some additional depth to the character of Yoda, who doesn't really have that much. He's really a mysterious character. And while we don't really get to explore like his backstory or anything, we get to see a lot of different sides of the Force, and I think that's really, really interesting. So again, Season 6 is kind of the odd man out. Like, there are some really interesting concepts in here, and I think if it was a full season, it would be much higher on the list, maybe like 1 or 2, because again, it is, number 3 after all. But still, the episodes that we got, really interesting. I really, really like what they were going for here. Now, coming in at number 2, we have Season 3. I'm going to fully admit right now that this season has some duds. It does. But it also has some of my favorite episodes and arcs in the entire series, and that's why I put it here. First of all, the opening arc of Clone Cadets and ARC Troopers, I think, is one of the best arcs in the entire show. It really shows why this series works because they humanized the clones, gave them individual personalities. I think that's amazing. And then, yeah, we get some kind of boring episodes like Ahsoka teaching a civics class on Mandalore and Zero the Hutt. Side note, if anyone here is genuinely, unabashedly a fan of Zero the Hutt as a character, I'd really like to know because I know I'm not. But then the show gets really good because we move on to the Night Sisters and Dathomir, Mother Talzin, Savage Opress, and the beginnings of Maul. And I think all that stuff, amazing. Sandwiched in between there is the Mortis arc, which again, I think is one of the single best arcs in the entire Clone Wars series. It really gets to show us the different aspects of the Force and just how it works. It's so, so great. I love it so much. And then to close it out, kind of, is the Citadel arc, which I really like as well. We even get to see the beginnings of the relationship between Anakin Skywalker and Tarkin, or should I say Vader and Tarkin, which is really, really well done. Now again, this season kind of ends with a dud, with Ahsoka being put in this weird battle arena thing, but still. Overall, I think this season kind of functions more as the Captain America Civil War of Star Wars The Clone Wars. It has a lot of higher highs and a lot of lower lows than maybe Season 4 does, but still, I much prefer that. Honestly, I much prefer the higher highs of Season 3 than Season 4. So, number 2. Which leaves only one option for the number 1 spot, and that is Season 5. Let me get one thing out of the way really quick before I talk about all the positives. I think Season 5 has one of the single worst arcs in all of Star Wars The Clone Wars, and it's the droid arc. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, I literally started watching the first 2 episodes, and I just couldn't finish it. I could not finish it. So maybe the 3rd and 4th episode have some really special parts in them where it's just like, wow, this is really amazing. But from what I saw, I just had to turn it off and skip on to the next arc. I just had to. And yeah, the episodes with the younglings and their lightsabers and the crystals, I mean, it was kind of cool, but it was just sort of cutesy, But what Season 5 does have is Maul, Mandalore, and Sidious. And that is just enough said, right? On top of that, we also get the Ahsoka framing arc, which I think is great. I think it really gets to show the humanity within Ahsoka Tano and just how much she's grown as a character, and also just how much Anakin Skywalker cares for her, which is great. Again, it's one of the best arcs in the entire series. And it's one of the most emotional as well, which I really, really appreciate. Overall, I think Season 5 just encapsulates what I love about the Clone Wars, which is just good characters and humanization of these characters, and also good action and good stories. Because really, that's what the Clone Wars did for Star Wars. It expanded the universe and showed us more, the potential of what it could be. And for that, I'm grateful. So those were my rankings of the 7 seasons of Star Wars The Clone Wars. Again, you don't have to agree with me, but just let me know what you think in the comments down below. While you're at it, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and give this video a like to support the channel. If you want to check out some more videos, then check out the videos on the screen right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.